On and already a thumbs up. What's going on, everybody? It's Sasha, your licensed real estate market expert here in Charlotte. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another live stream. It is the first Thursday of the month and it's May already, which absolutely almost makes me sick how time is flying. It's absolutely terrifying, to be honest with you. But yeah, 4 o'clock today. Usually I was doing the 6, but last month I did a live at 4 o'clock again, and it seems like there was way more people on the live at 4 o'clock than I usually get at 6, which I guess makes sense. So hopefully I'm catching some of you maybe on your drive home, or you just picked up the kiddos from school or whatever the case is, and you got a couple minutes if you happen to have any questions for me or anything like that. But it's definitely been an interesting day for me, to kind of say the least. It's all good. Everything's good. It's a beautiful day. I had a closing today for one of my clients in a home in Huntersville. Gorgeous home. It hit the market on the same day. We got an offer within a couple of hours and we got it accepted. We obviously provided great terms and everything like that, which is why they had accepted it. But the house has what's called a pool spa. So if you don't know anything about pool spas, I'm just new to them and I'm starting to get a little bit obsessed with them. But essentially, I had no idea, but this pool spa that my clients got that was in the backyard cost over $40,000. It's like a 16, 17 foot jacuzzi looking thing. It can seat up to like 15 people. And on one side of it, it has jets. So when you turn these jets on, it essentially creates a current that you can like swim against. And I saw the commercials like a while back, a couple years ago, but I haven't seen too many of them, but I'm literally obsessed with them. So last night I was doing some research on them and I was watching some YouTube videos and things like that. And I don't know why I'm so excited about them. And you can get them above ground or you can get them built in the ground, just like pools. But it's one of the coolest things that I've seen. I have no idea. And last night I spent like an hour just doing research about these things. I sent my client that bought the house that has the pool spa a bunch of different links and things like that. But it's so cool. I even filled out like an information thing for them to contact me. And I told the guy that I was talking to, his name was Eric, and I was like, Eric, listen, man, I have no idea about anything about these pool spas. I just saw one today for the first time. I have absolutely zero intention of potentially buying one of these things today, maybe in a year, 2 or 3, who knows. But I was just curious about it, and they sent me like this whole packet of information. But it was super funny because I've never seen one before, and they're pretty awesome. But with that being said, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, and I'm live right now, so any questions at all that you potentially have, drop them right there. I'm happy to answer them for you. I'll be on here for about an hour, and I got next week, by the time you're probably watching this, the stats will have already been out. So make sure you check out my monthly market report that we're going to be doing from the month of May/April. As you guys know, we do the market reports a month in arrears. Very curious to see the numbers. I've been having pretty good luck with houses below asking price and at asking price, and negotiating as far as repairs and things like that go. So it's been good, but it's definitely been picking up. When I look as far as inventory wise, we're still not there, man. I was expecting a lot more to kind of be here, but we're just kind of going along the same trajectory essentially as normal, which kind of sucks. But the good news is we're still double the inventory that we had last year, but we need to see how this plays out. If you didn't watch last month's market report, April, May, June, sometimes July, but April, May, June is going to be the bulk season. That is going to be season where the most amount of new listings will be hitting the market. So like I said, when I'm making these search parameters and things like that, there's so many coming soon listings, which is absolutely great. But I'm very curious to see what's going to happen in May and June, to see if we're going to start building up that little fluff. It's kind of like a snowball effect. The stuff that, I'm reading as far as financial news and things like that is kind of crazy. So many banks are like failing, and we're talking about, I can't remember if it was billions. I think it's billions, like $200-300 billion and stuff like that. And some of it is starting to kind of creep into the market. When I want to say it was First Republic Bank, I can't remember, one of my clients at the time, this was over a month ago, probably a month and a half ago, they were actually getting a loan through First Republic Bank for their house. And the news came out about the bank probably 2 weeks before we were supposed to close. And my clients were like, hey, the lender said that everything's going to be fine. We should be good to close in 2 weeks. but my clients still felt a little bit on edge, so they just moved up the closing. So we had rushed to move the closing up an extra week because they were worried about something happening with the bank and then obviously their loan failing. And now I'm starting to see that too. So far in the last 3 months, two of my clients were semi affected by it. Not as far as not being able to close, but as far as like, hey, this needs to be on your radar because something can happen. So it's just very interesting. It very much is. Two people on here, guys. Any questions at all, please drop them in. But one thing I wanted to say is I just recently closed on a gorgeous house in Providence Plantation. I have a YouTube video on Providence Plantation neighborhood, and I'm going to be making another one here soon. Absolutely one of my favorite neighborhoods, hands down. Depending on what you're looking for, it most likely will check every single one of your boxes. Amazing neighborhood. And the owner actually bought this house over 2 years ago. Like I want to say close to 2.5 years ago. And the owner is actually in the banking industry. When I initially reached out as far as getting an offer submitted and things like that, I was just curious. I was like, hey, I know you guys bought this house, 2.5 years ago. Why are the owners selling so soon? And then the seller's agent told me that the husband is in banking, and essentially he said, "Nuh-uh, this isn't my first rodeo. We're gonna sell the house." And I was like, okay, it's interesting. And Charlotte's a banking town. We're number two right behind New York City for banking. So I'm wondering, I'm wondering if we're gonna start to see that effect. And guys, this is just out of my own curiosity and kind of what I'm seeing. But as far as the market itself goes, things are moving. Things are moving. There's still slightly more demand on the buyer side, depending on the property, depending on the area, depending on the price range. But there's still slightly more demand on the buyer side than there is sellers. Again, it varies, but I'm starting to see these little things that are starting to happen in the mainstream news starting to affect kind of the market. Will that kind of take over and again start to snowball and start to make a difference? I don't know. It hasn't done so yet, but we'll see. We'll definitely kind of see. But yeah, so I'm very curious. But I just got a question from Todd. Let me just log in over here. What price range is selling more than others? Is it cash or finance? So the luxury market, which you can essentially consider luxury market, double the price of the median price point. So essentially, I mean, if you're 700,000 plus, you're kind of in that luxury market, but Charlotte it's like a big pendulum that's kind of swinging. But I'm seeing a ton of activity in the homes under 400, under 450. That's not to say, above 450, above 500, I'm not seeing that activity, but a lot of the activity where houses are selling, I would say the quickest is under 450, under 500. And yes, there are some cash sales. I just recently, my closing today was an all cash sale. Property was 475 up in Huntersville. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing cash and, terms need to be there. Luckily now that the market has cooled down as opposed to last year, we're starting to see a lot more FHA loans. We're starting to see a lot more VA loans, but the cash buyers are still lingering around there, Todd. So it's interesting to see kind of how it plays out. The Fed increased rates again. I honestly don't even want to talk about that because anytime they do something or anytime the mainstream media says that the Feds are doing something, nothing reflects to what I see in the market currently, besides a couple of those bank things that I had mentioned to you. Two of my clients were semi-affected by some of these banks becoming like insolvent. Between me and the world on YouTube, I pulled some money out of the bank that I bank with and things like that. I'm starting to move some things around. Just I don't want to be blindsided by something. I'd hate to try to do a withdrawal or a transfer and the bank says, hey, we can't do anything for you. It's interesting. Any other questions, guys, please go ahead and drop them in there. The market's moving. The market is definitely moving. I'm excited. By the time this is going to be re-uploaded, I've already gone to see it, but there's a house that I'm personally interested in that I'll be going to take a look at tomorrow, and I'm kind of excited about it. And I had someone else reach out to me last week via text message asking me about some areas and things like that, and essentially, we were talking and things like that. This is just a blind kind of text message, and I like to answer you guys' questions, so I was just answering and talking back with them, and they wanted to buy essentially like in 2020, in 2021. They thought something was going to happen, something was going to shift in the market, and it never did. They asked me my opinion on it, And then I told him essentially what I tell you guys all the time: long term, nothing to worry about. You know what I mean? Long term and things like that. And then he was like, well, yeah, I should buy that. I was like, yeah, if that's your situation, you know what I mean? You're somebody that just randomly texted me and we're starting to get to know each other. I don't know, you haven't told me what you're exactly looking for and things like that. So it's just interesting. Are you seeing price drops on the higher price homes? Yes, yes. When you say higher price, I'll just assume you're saying like 700 plus. But yeah, I'm definitely seeing some. And again, it just depends kind of on the situation. I've seen one house in the same neighborhood sit for 2, 3 months. Then I've seen another house that was, very similar, except it had upgrades and things like that, that kind of sells right away. From my experience, a lot of buyers are looking for something that's turnkey, maybe some paint, maybe some carpet, but other than that, they want kind of the major systems. They want the roof, the HVAC, the flooring. They want all of that stuff to be kind of taken care of. But to answer your question, yeah, at higher price homes, I am starting to see some of the price decreases. Depends on what it is. The unique homes, custom built homes, homes in certain areas, those areas you're really not seeing some price decreases. I had recently just talked to a builder. There's a new construction home that I know somebody's kind of eyeing out. This home is priced at, I think it was 1.59, so just under 1.6 million. And I was kind of chatting with them, and granted, it's not, kind of it's a lot of money, but it's not like a huge something discount. But this house was listed at 1.59, so just under 1.6. And we were talking, and it sounded like somebody might be able to land that home for around 1.45. So almost $150,000, off that price point for a $1.6 million home, essentially. So it's interesting. It's one of those things. You have less people looking in the higher price ranges, so it tends to be less competitive, unless you have a beautiful Victorian style home pop up in Elizabeth. You know what I mean? That stuff is always going to have that certain value. Now, if you're talking about a new construction home or something like that, where there's a decent amount to choose from, that stuff you're going to see more price decreases than you are going to be the unique homes and things like that. 6 people on here, and Todd is the only one asking me questions. So guys, feel free to chime in. I'd love to answer anything you could potentially think of as far as that stuff goes. I'm not going to be sure if you're going to be, sticking around for this, but when I do my market report, I plan on mentioning this. The peak of prices in Charlotte specifically happens in June. So if you're somebody looking to buy or somebody looking to sell, you need to keep that in mind, because as a buyer, you should expect that the prices are going to be at their peak, at their highest in the month of June. And if you're a seller, it'd be a good idea to list your house. Right now we're in May, so it's a good idea to list, even now, more towards the end of the month and or in June, because that's when we're going to see peak prices, and that's where you're going to see the most buyers. People want to be moved into a new home so they can still do kind of a summer vacation. They want to have the family settled before school starts, but that is the peak price season, is June, literally every single year. And then from June all the way to December, January, we trickle down a little bit. So I just want to let you guys know that. And another thing, I had somebody comment something crazy that obviously didn't watch my market report video fully and or until the end. And the stats that I go over when I do that is year over year. If you want to look at price decreases, guys, you need to look at what the prices were as far as median sales price, average sales price. You need to look at it what it was in the height of the market, aka June, and then you need to look at what the lowest point in the market was. It might surprise a lot of people, but from our all-time highs last month, median price point from our all-time highs is down 7%. Average sales price is down 8% from our all-time highs. So a lot of people, hey, I'm not seeing any of these decreases. What are you talking about? XYZ, there are decreases. And like I just said, 7% decrease from our all-time highs of our median price point, which was 400, and then 8% decrease from our all-time highs of the average sales price. So guys, please pay attention to that stuff. I've mentioned this, I've been saying this for a while now. I thought we were going to see 10 to 20, anywhere from 10 to 20% decreases from our all-time highs, and we crept up to that 10%. but now as the peak season starting to pick up, we're starting to kind of go up again. And what you should pay attention to and what I'm going to be paying attention to, all-time high peak season prices usually happen in June, which was 400,000 as a median price point. So I'm curious to see what that price point is going to be in June of 2023, because that's going to be pretty telling. If it comes in at, 380,000 as a median price point in the month of June, and last year was 400, then what can you expect to be the lower price point as we enter October, November, December, January? So that's going to be very interesting to see, and I'm excited how that plays out. Probably talking your guys' head off. I might be talking too fast. I'm having an energy drink currently. But leave me a question. What kind of questions do you have for me? Anything and everything. I'm happy to help. Somebody hit the like button. Thank you, and I appreciate it. Any and all questions, though, please leave them in. Todd, I hope you got some more questions for me, bud. There was an article. I need to go ahead and post it in Charlotte, and that is according to states, we're number 4 as far as states goes. I really need to find where that was, that article, so I can kind of share that article with you guys. But a lot of investors kind of hopped into the market when things were getting a little crazy. And honestly, in 2020, 2021, whatever you bought, you could have just bought it, held it for a year, and then, netted $100,000, obviously, depending on, the property itself. So everybody wanted to kind of jump in the investment space. But now 17% of investors that are buying these homes in and around Charlotte are losing money, which is very, very interesting. And we're the fourth largest state as far as investors losing money, which is interesting. But I need to find this article. But the market report is going to be coming out next week. So next Thursday, 2 p.m., that market report's going to come out. So I'm very curious to kind of see what's going on. But as I mentioned to you guys, it's been, for myself personally, it's been pretty good. I'm able to get my clients' houses at asking price, and then even below asking price, a fair amount below asking price. And these are houses priced between 4 to 600,000. Actually, 615 to be exact. But yeah, between 4 to 615, I'm able to get some pretty good price decreases for my clients, and or pretty good negotiation and things like that. So keep that in mind if you're kind of looking in that price range. There's still some neighborhoods, because I have a couple clients set up on searches closer to $1 million, and there's still some neighborhoods where these like $1 million homes are selling within the first weekend that it's posted. Todd, I really appreciate you, my friend. You're keeping me afloat here asking these questions, so thank you. Are you seeing any people in the outlying areas selling due to having to return to work? So that's a very good question. I personally have kind of not ran into that issue, but I've seen a lot of houses that were purchased in the last 2 to 3 years that are for sale now. So I'm wondering if it's potentially people that are affected by some of these layoffs that these companies are having. I'm wondering if it's people that just put all of their chips up front for a house, and now they're kind of struggling making the payment. So I do think that could be some of the reason, but I personally do not know anybody of years. For some reason, I've always worked with a lot of people that relocate to Charlotte, just because Charlotte's like a transplant city, and for some reason those kind of people just attracted to me. That's kind of how my YouTube channel came about. I was doing videos for my clients from New York, and they were like, Sasha, why don't you just post this so everybody like knows, and you can do this everybody instead of doing like personal videos for us. And I took their advice, started doing it. But out of all the people that I've helped that I know that have relocated here, I've only had one person move here, and they moved here from Colorado. They stayed here for a year. They lived in an Indian Trail, and then they ended up moving back to Colorado after a year. They were just having a super hard time kind of adjusting, for whatever reason, and they missed it. They were kind of, born and raised in Colorado. So, but adjusting, that's one thing, guys. Adjusting to a new city, especially if you're born and raised somewhere, and then you just up and move to a new city, every single thing is brand new. It's hard to adjust. It really is. When I first moved to Charlotte, it literally took me about 2 years. I'm starting to like it here. And then gradually every year, it's just getting better. And now I just don't see myself moving at all. It kind of has everything I want to offer. But in regards to your question, Todd, I think yes. I think a lot of people are selling because they have to go back to work and or other personal reasons that have bought in the last 2 to 3 years. I just personally don't know any. Axel Roulette, hey, Tasha, what's up, my friend? Any questions for me? As soon as I read your name, I thought of Axel Foley from Beverly Hills Cop, the Eddie Murphy movie. But I hope that answers your question, Todd. I appreciate you. Axel, me and my girlfriend decided to rent for a year. This market is insane. Tell me a little bit about what happened. To be honest with you, I've seen it. I've seen it a lot. You know, it can be a little bit overwhelming, especially it just kind of depends on the person. But you know, buying a home and things like that, very emotional, you know. So I'm not surprised if somebody tries to buy a home or they submit a couple offers and they just keep getting, you know, they just keep getting denied and denied. Then it's like, hey, you know what, let's just go ahead and rent for 6 months to a year and then kind of see where the market is or if it loosens up or tightens up. But you know, the one thing I know for a fact is it cannot stay like this forever, and it's not going to. But you know, eventually we'll have to stabilize. When is that going to happen? I don't know. We'll see. Axel, tell me a little bit more about kind of your experience as far as kind of being in the market. You know, did you submit multiple offers? Did you guys keep getting rejected? You know, kind of where were you looking at? I'm very curious. Any specific zip codes or sides of town? North Charlotte, east, west, south, suburbs? What city were you looking in mostly? I'd love to know that as well. I'm going to be making a video really shortly. I don't know if you guys know, but a big investment company, they're trying to build like a resort style like lagoon retreat in Huntersville, and it's starting to gain some traction, and a lot of the people that live in Huntersville are starting to vote for it. So I'm so excited. The pictures look absolutely amazing if they can get some of that stuff done. You know what I mean? Farouk, what's up, my friend? I'm doing good. I hope you are. I'm telling you, man, I'm still keeping my eyes out for you. I promise you I am. It's just the market's starting to pick back up and get a little bit crazy again. Gambling shenanigans, getting super expensive out there, bro. It is, man. It's crazy. You know, it's a combination of a bunch of stuff. It's a combination of, you know, the Fed keeping the rates low for way too long. And, you know, Charlotte, it's been underpriced for a while. So now we had that big bump up in prices because it was underpriced. Then you have the low interest rates, which kind of overpriced stuff. So like the pendulum went from Charlotte being this amazing, which it still is, but it went from being this amazing place where you can make decent money, where you can buy a nice house, to like still having an amazing place but way more expensive now. So it kind of sucks, man. It really does. I hate it, especially because it's tough for the local people. You know, I talk to a lot of people that are local to the Charlotte area that have reached out to me and they're like, I'm born and raised in Charlotte. I should have bought a house 5 years ago. Now some of them are getting priced out and it just sucks. But it happens in so many cities just because everything's so getting so crazy expensive nowadays. But it just really sucks, man. You know, I had trouble when I was buying this townhome that we're in now, and I was working as a paramedic. And I know kind of what that went through. I had a very, very strict budget that I had to stick to because I didn't want to live just to pay for my house. I wanted to live a life. You know, I don't want to have to work overtime every single week in order to afford a nice home and things like that. And now that the prices have gone up, you know, the way that they are, I just think about someone being in my shoes or like my paramedic coworkers and stuff like that that I'm still friends with. It's like, damn, man, I can't find a house. Like I'm there, like you're getting forced to rent. You know, you're getting beat out by these offers, and it just sucks. It really does. I'm not hoping for a crash. I'm not, you know, I don't want any of that or anything. I just want it to normalize. You know, I'd like for it to normalize, but unfortunately, you know, you can't control any of that stuff. You really can't. One of my coaches is out in Seattle, and I mean their median price point is like 700 something thousand, but you know, Seattle's a big tech hub and things like that. But we'll see. Charlotte is still relatively affordable for, you know, what it provides, but it's just not, it's obvious it's not as affordable as it was 4 or 5 years ago. If I knew this was going to happen, or if I was longer into my real estate career, I would have bought up as many houses as I could. You know what I mean? But, you know, hindsight's always 2020, but the next bull run that we're going to have the next couple years, I'll be ready for it for sure. Todd, we sold our home in Fort Mill in 21, been renting since. I hate paying rent, but I'm not paying these prices. Yeah, Todd, you know, I'm curious. I'm curious if you were kind of like, hey, I need to cash out while the market's hot and then wait for the market to potentially go go down and then buy. But good news is it sounds like you cashed out pretty good. Fort Mill, Indian Land, Tega Cay, those areas, they're great. They're pretty different than kind of the Charlotte market, which I think is very interesting. I really do. Some of the houses in, in Fort Mill, Tega Cay, Indian Land, they'll sit for longer than something in Charlotte would, because I'm out there pretty often. Especially Indian Land. Indian Land, people seem to love it because it's right on the border of Valentine. So I'm out in Indian Land pretty often. I just went to a house last week in Indian Land, and it's been on the market for almost a month. And I'm like, this is a nice house. Why is it sitting? It just didn't make any sense. A Taylor Morrison built home. It was a beautiful home. It had, the Southern Stout had a porch up top and a porch as soon as you walk in the door. I'm like, why is this house sitting? It didn't really make too much sense. And if you took that house and moved it to Charlotte, that thing would have been sold in the first weekend. So there is a pretty decent discrepancy. So for any of you that are looking potentially at South Carolina as an alternative, you might have better luck if you're getting priced out in some of these Charlotte areas. You might have better luck in Fort Mill, Indian Land, potentially Tega Cay, obviously Rock Hill and things like that as well. But me personally, I any South Carolina stuff that I do, it's going to be as close to the North Carolina border as possible. Rock Hill is great, but it's a little bit further out. So I have an agent that I know that lives in Rock Hill, and they know way more about Rock Hill than I do. So if anybody's interested, I just have them, reach out to me, and then I get them connected so they can just help them any way possible. Axel, we were under contract with D.R. Horton from Nolan Farms, Gastonia. They kept changing the requirements for down payment. We went from putting down 3% conventional to 5% down HOA. We backed out. That's crazy. And you know what the crazy thing is? As far as like new construction homes, they don't use the standard North Carolina offer to purchase contract. They have their own contract. They're all very similar as far as new construction goes. They're all kind of like the standard new construction stuff. But when you're dealing with new construction, you're dealing with their kind of front end office. So they can change stuff on you. That's why I tell people it's important. And listen, I'm not saying this just to say this. It's important to have an agent when you're kind of working a new construction that has previous experience with new construction, because they know the questions that they need to ask so something like this doesn't happen to you. But it sucks because, it's a big builder. If they want to change something on the contract, they could change it. And if you decided to take them to court, you're probably going to lose, because they have insane amount of money and things like that. And, it just is what it is. But I hope you got your deposits back, man. Kind of sucks anytime you have to back out or something like that. But I will say, not to be universal or whatever cliche, I think everything happens for a reason. There's been so many instances in my real estate career and in life where things just work out, man. Things just work out, Axel. They try to keep our earnest money. Now we no longer interested in buying a house for at least a year. First-time home buyers, and we had a bad experience in the failed process. First-time home buyers, it's tough. There's so much stuff that kind of goes on. And North Carolina can be a little bit weird because we do things differently than a lot of other states. Most states don't have what's called due diligence, which North Carolina has. Most places just have like an earnest money deposit, which is money that's held in escrow. Yeah, it can be confusing for a first-time home buyer. When I talk to first-time home buyers, I go through kind of the entire process that you can kind of expect, and then obviously I'll have to reiterate everything multiple times because it's like trying to drink water from a fire hose. Sorry you had a bad experience about that. Did you guys use an agent, or did you guys go directly to D.R. Horton? But you said they tried to keep your earnest money deposit, so I'm hoping you were able to get that back. Faisal, hi Sasha, just joined. Sorry if I missed the topic. Is the price trending up again and no hope for going down? So Faisal, yeah, prices are starting to trend up again as the market heats up. And I mentioned this earlier in the video. The peak prices, the most expensive prices that you're going to get for housing is going to be in the month of June. So it literally, I'll share this chart with you guys, but as you look, like for example, right here, you have January, prices going up, June, then they slowly start to trickle back down as you get into October, November, December, and January again. So yeah, prices are starting to go up, and they're going to hit their peak in June, and then they're going to start to slowly trickle back down. We'll see. That's on average. That's based off of what's been happening in the Charlotte area for the last 10 years. So, literally same chart for the last 10 years. So they're going to hit their all-time highs in June. If you're a seller, good idea to put your house on the market right now in May. Good idea to put your house on the market in June. The rest of the months are good too, but you should just know that on average, the highest prices, the peak prices are in the month of June. If you're a buyer, you need to know that as well. But again, everything's going to vary. As all this stuff that's happening, as all these kind of banks are getting, insolvent and all this craziness. And I have some friends that are in certain fields of the workspace that their jobs are getting affected. So yeah, it's all over the place, man. It literally takes one little weird thing to happen or whatever to kind of start turning things kind of upside down. But the good thing is it's a slow process because it's real estate. Farouk, I see some of the sellers listing houses like it's 2001, 22, 100%. It's hard, man. It really is. If you're just think about it. Think about if you owned a house and you were like, hey, I want to sell, and you start, researching on whatever Zillow, Realtor.com, and then you're like, oh, look, our neighbor down the street, whatever, 8, 10 houses down, they listed their house at 500 and they ended up getting 550 for it. So we're gonna list our house for 500. Hopefully we'll get 550 for it. Or if a seller is like very overzealous, they'll just say, hey, let's just skip the 500. Let's just jump right up to whatever it's sold for at the 550. And that's kind of what they'll list it for. But the market is it's not the same. Complete 180 from what it was last year. And it's still hard. It's not easy market, but it's still hard, but it's still a complete 180. But it's tough to grasp, you know what I mean? Even me, if I sold this townhouse, I'd have to look and all that. We did updates and things, but I'd probably have to list it lower than what my neighbors potentially had sold theirs for, last year as well. But I understand that. It's hard not to get emotional, with this type of stuff, but at the end of the day, it's numbers. You got to look at certain stuff, but you never know. If somebody's willing to pay that high price, more power to them. We were able to talk to the higher ups from, this is Axel talking about the DR Horton when they had backed out because they told him that he needed to put 5% down instead of 3. We were able to talk to the higher ups from DR Horton and they gave us back our earnest money. Luckily, our agent was terrible, only was there for the commission. She never fought for our earnest money, kept trying to push us into the deal. She was also asking about the commission fee in front of us. Axel, that's insane, dude. Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy to me. I get excited. I'm one of the very few people that gets excited about, negotiating, having to negotiate repairs, having to negotiate all that stuff. You got to find somebody that's going to actually go to bat for you. And unfortunately, there was like a bull rush in real estate agents. As soon as 2020 started rolling around, everybody thought licensing you were able to do online. So I had to go in person to, real estate school to get licensed and things like that. And during the pandemic stuff, people were getting licensed online. And it's crazy. Like it was probably so easy to cheat while you're taking your tests online. So there was so many agents out there that just like had no idea what they were kind of doing, which is fine. But you got to find somebody that cares at the end of the day. And now I think a report came out a couple months ago that 100,000 agents did not renew their license nationwide. And those were people that were licensed like in the last 2 years. So all those people that didn't take it seriously or thought they were jumping into a gold rush, which is absolutely nuts. All those people that didn't take it seriously and things like that, they're out of the business now or they're on their way out. I'm seeing that the existing house prices aren't going as high as the new construction are. Do you see the same? And is it due to higher labor and material costs or due to greedy developers? Let me read that one more time. I am seeing that the existing house prices aren't going as high as the new constructions are. Do you see the same? And is it due to higher label and material cost? Yeah, so a lot of the new construction stuff, they're kind of staying stable with the prices, but they're just offering people more incentives. But on average, new construction homes are just going to be, they're going to be more expensive than, existing homes or resale homes just because it's a new construction. Everything's brand new, so they charge a premium for it. When you buy a new construction home, you hope not to have to worry about anything for, years to come and things like that. So new construction, they always price at the height of the market. They try to get every single penny, every single dollar they can. So yeah, new construction is going to be priced usually higher. The only reason sometimes you'll see new construction priced lower is because developers, in order to find enough land to build a community, they need to go very far out on the outskirts and things like that. So the reason you might see the prices being a little bit lower as far as new construction goes is because it's further out, in the city. It's slightly less desirable than being a little bit closer to the city. But again, it just varies on your personal kind of approach for what you're kind of looking for and things like that. These are some great questions, guys. So keep them rolling if you can. But again, I said a little bit earlier in the stream. By the time I post this, I've already seen it, but I'm interested in a personal home, and I'm going to be taking a look at it tomorrow. So we'll kind of see what comes of that. Todd, it's funny you just said that because I'm looking at a home tomorrow. I have an appointment scheduled for tomorrow at 4 p.m. So I'm going to go take a look at a home for myself personally. I threw out a verbal offer 2 weeks ago to an agent. I actually looked at a home for one of my clients. They ended up not liking it, and I was like, well, damn, I'd like it for myself, but not at this price. So when I left feedback for that agent, I said, hey, listen, my clients don't like this home, but if you're willing to take this amount, I might be willing to kind of pursue it. And they came down on price a little bit, but not as much as I wanted to. So as long as I'm comfortable as far as the price goes, I'd buy a home right now because, you know, I'm Todd. Yeah, Todd, I see you often on my live, so I'm sure you watch my other videos. You know, whatever I buy, I'm not going to sell. My dad recently told me, why don't you just sell, why don't you just sell the townhouse and, put a huge down payment on, your single family home? And I said, absolutely not. This townhouse that we're in now, I love it. I love the location, and it's something I just never want to sell. So the house that I buy, I'm never going to sell. I'm just going to, if I need to upgrade, which I probably, will in the next, whatever, 5+ years, I'm going to keep that house, probably turn that into a rental and keep it just because, the prices in the next 10 years, in my opinion, for Charlotte, depending on where you are, depending on the zip code, depending on the neighborhood, the location, I just think prices are going to go a lot higher than they are now in 10 years. So it's like that, Todd, it's like that with anything, think about it. If you can get a good price on something that you feel comfortable with, why wouldn't you kind of move forward? So that's kind of where I am with this house tomorrow. I'm not going to be jumping all over it. And I tell my clients right now, I really don't think people should be offering over asking price. I think, 5, 10, maybe 15,000 over asking price. If it like checks every single box for you, I think that might be okay. And obviously if the comps that are surrounding in that area, if the comps make sense and everything like that, I think that's okay. But for the most part, I don't think people should be offering a lot over asking. There's still people out there offering crazy amounts over asking, 40, 50,000 plus over asking on certain homes. If the home is unique, if the home is very unique, if it's in like an amazing neighborhood where houses rarely go up for sale, yes, that's understandable. If your long-term goal is, hey, once I buy this house, I'm not leaving here for 7, 8, 10 years, go ahead, do your thing, because the extra, 40, 50,000 that you're going to overpay to be in that, unique neighborhood, that's not really going to matter to you in 8, 10 years. But for the most part, I tell my buyers, be patient, be calm. I'll tell you if it warrants you coming up. If the house is listed at 480 and last month, another house sold for 525, yeah, go ahead, up that offer over asking price if it makes sense. You know what I mean? But I personally don't think, unless the property warrants it, unless it's super unique, unless it's checking all the boxes, hey, this house is not like that other house that sold. We have a new roof. Here's the receipt, $20,000 new roof. We just replaced the AC. Hey, here's that. We just insulated the garage. Hey, here's that. We just finished the basement. Hey, here's that. That's why it's so important to have somebody that kind of knows what they're talking about and that's kind of experienced with that, unless you're able to take the initiative and really, really dig in and do the research yourself. So I hope that helps. Might be an unpopular opinion, but all the people I'm helping with right now, nobody that I'm under contract with right now is over the asking price. We're at the asking price or we're below. The highest I'm under right now is $30,000, and that's for a home that's in Concord. So I'm practicing what I preach. I'm not recommending the people that I work with do anything that I personally wouldn't do. And there's plenty of times where I've told somebody like, hey, listen, at the end of the day, the decision's up to you. I work for you. I represent you. I'll do whatever you tell me, but I personally wouldn't do it because of XYZ, and then lay out the information of how I came to that conclusion. It's very simple. Todd, you're welcome. And listen, Todd, I appreciate you asking all these questions. You're keeping me afloat here. I really appreciate it. And everybody else, these are some really good questions. I love doing these lives. The only thing is they start to heat up at like minute 20, minute 30, and that's where like all the like influx of questions where I can kind of keep rambling on. So keep them coming for me, guys. I appreciate it. You'll see if you guys end up watching this video back, but I just closed on a home today for one of my clients for a home in Huntersville. And this home, actually, if you follow my Instagram, QC Home Group, group. I just posted the video, an hour or so ago, but my client, the house has a pool spa, which I had no idea what it was. So last night I spent an hour researching. I filled out an informational packet about pool spas. I was on YouTube for an hour looking up videos about pool spas. They are one of the coolest things. And this pool spa was like over 40 grand to be installed in my client's house. And we got it, I'm not going to say free. You bought the house to get, a pool spa, but that thing is awesome. That thing is so cool. And now I want one. Now I just need a house because like I said, I live in a townhouse now. So I don't know how my neighbors would like if I put, a 16, 17, 18-foot pool spa in my backyard, which to be honest with you, my backyard's probably 15 or 20 feet, kind of long ways. Townhouses, more often than not, you'll get a very small backyard. I'm kind of lucky with the backyard that I have. I have like a decent amount of space, I guess, but a lot of the other townhouses don't have much. And I'm curious, out of all the people on here watching, it looks like we have 12 people kind of on here now. Do you prefer living in the suburbs or prefer living in the city and or closer to the city? That's something I'm curious about. I always get mixed up with kind of everything. When I'm in the city and I'm looking at the real estate, in the city, I'm like, oh my God, this is a dream. I could live here. I can walk out my front door. I can go grab a coffee. I can go, do this. And then sometimes when I'm with my clients that are out looking in the suburbs, like Waxhaw, for example, they have so many amenities and things like that. I'm like, oh man, I could be a suburban dad. I would, I would love this. So it's so interesting. But I'm curious if you guys don't mind typing in Tia Richards suburbs. Okay, we got one suburb, and the way Charlotte's growing, we're gonna get a lot more condensed. And one of my clients that I helped move, they actually moved to Waxhaw 2 years ago, and we were talking about something, and he was kind of moving further out in Waxhaw because Waxhaw's pretty big, and he's like, man, I don't plan on going anywhere. I plan on dying in this house, so I don't care about too much activity because I know a lot of this activity is going to end up catching up. And he's like, they're just going to end up building all around me. Pretty soon he'll feel like he is in the city, even though right now he has like a lot of privacy and all that stuff. So it's interesting. But T, I appreciate it. Suburbs. Yeah. I don't have kids as of yet, but I feel like as soon as I have God willing, as soon as I have a baby or something like that, I'm going to be like, we're moving to the suburbs. Comparing suburbs, comparing houses. Faisal, at this older age, I like the mixed use development where I can walk to groceries and coffee shops. The good thing is there is a lot of mixed use developments and things like that where you're able to. And the good thing is because Charlotte's so spread out, they're kind of spread out as well. It really depends. But yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. If you said at this older age, you're probably not even that old, but you're just kind of being modest. I guess it makes sense. I guess kind of the prime time to kind of maybe live in the suburbs would be, whenever you have kids that I guess are going to school, maybe from age 35 to 55, 35 to 60, and then you might want to, downsize and things like that, just because the houses in the suburbs tend to be a lot bigger than kind of the ones in the city and things like that. What would be cool is if they started building kind of like townhouses that were ranch style. If they started building townhouses that were ranch style in these mixed use developments. The only problem is a lot of the townhouses that they're building in Charlotte, like all the newer ones, they're all 3 stories, which is fine if you're young, but if you're somebody that's 55, 60 years old and you're like, I have trouble walking up, 3, 4 flights of stairs, you know what I mean? And I'm 30 years old, so I wish they would start doing that. But the reason they don't do that is because ranches or single stories, they just take up more of a footprint for the house. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's interesting. It's fascinating. Any and all questions, guys? We've been on here 52 minutes. I'm ready to go for another couple. If you guys have some other questions for me, I'm happy to help. Hey, I also have the MLS pulled up. So if you guys have a question about a specific home, specific address, or something like that, I'll type it in right now. We can kind of go over it. If you're like, hey, Sasha, is this house overpriced? Right here, use me. I'm here for you. And if you want me to pull some comps, whatever the case is, guys, like I said, I'm on here. I'm live right now. So send me over an address, type in an address, and I'll check it out for you. Yeah, so I'm looking at the stats for the last 7 days. We have a lot of new listings coming, but the houses that have already accepted offers that are pending are slightly outweighing the new listings. So it's still showing us that the buyer demand is slightly higher than, it's showing us that the buyer demand is slightly higher. Faisal, 3 stories, no way, looking for one bedroom room downstairs. Faisal, so yeah, that's how they're building them now. You'll see a lot of the 3-story townhouses that they have. You got to have a garage though. So you'll have the garage, you pull into the garage, you're in the hallway, you'll have a full bathroom on one side, and then you'll have, depending on what configuration you want, you can have a bedroom there, or you can have like an office space. Most people use it as a guest bedroom because it's on the first floor. It has a full bathroom, so it's nice. Second floor, you're going to have the living room, kitchen, potential dining room, and then the third floor is going to be where you're going to have your master bedroom and then another bedroom. Most of the townhouses are going to be 3 bedrooms. You got a couple that are 4, and some of those have the really cool rooftop terrace, which is awesome. I love the rooftop terraces. I've been looking at houses for everybody but myself, so I haven't logged on and seen anything in like the specific areas that I'm kind of looking for. So I did a radius for my search within 6 miles kind of South Charlotte, where I'm personally looking at, and how many listings popped up? 62 listings popped up, and the first page, there's 19 coming soon listings. So a couple months ago, this is not the case. As I mentioned, April, May, June, sometimes July is peak season. So the most new listings that are going to be hitting the market are coming right now, April, May, June, and possibly July, but April, May, June, 100%. And like I mentioned earlier, some of these houses I don't even want to take a look at, because if I can't get them for the asking price, I don't want to, I'm not going to pay something, something stupid. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Look at this. I don't even know what happened here, but 819 Staggered Court in Charlotte, NC, price decrease. It was listed at 685,000. They decreased it to 625,000. That's insane. It's a beautiful house, but how do you do that's a $60,000 price decrease if my math is correct on that. It looks like a nice home, but this house just hit the market. They might have made a mistake on that. I like this neighborhood too. Subdivision called Thornblade Hills. You guys should check it out. They got a nice home listed, 2832 Bumblebee Drive in Matthews, 605. 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. This is a nice home. It's got a pool too. So I was telling this to one of my clients the other day when we were looking. Last year, for example, you would go look at 5 homes. Out of those 5 homes, there would be one nice home that's essentially move-in condition. Now, if you happen to go look at 5 homes, you're gonna find 2 to 3 that are in really nice condition. Another one that I just found that actually looks really nice. They're having an open house Saturday, May 6th, 6202 Caslon Court, Charlotte, 28270, which is the neighborhood I live in. 570,000, 569.9. This house looks great. I probably cut out there, but yeah, this house looks great here too. So like I said, now, if you go to see 5 homes, instead of seeing one decent, nice home and the rest, not being nice at all, now, if you go see 5 homes, you're probably going to see 2 to 3 that are pretty nice and that actually represent kind of what the pictures look like. I noticed last year, it seemed like everything that was going on the market was just not nice. It hasn't been updated in 20. They're asking top dollar. Now you're actually starting to see stuff that kind of makes sense. Guys, any and all questions, go ahead and drop them in here. Like I said, if there's a specific home you might be interested in or something like that, I am on the computer right now checking out stuff, comps or something like that. Let me know. If you're somebody looking under $400,000, if you're looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath, check out 9613 Watergate Road, Charlotte, 28270. 9613 Watergate Road, Charlotte. This looks like a nice home. There's no pictures of the interior, but it's priced at $390,000. And based off, I know this neighborhood, based off of the comps, it's easily worth $390,000. So this home that I'm mentioning right now, Watergate Road, this home could potentially warrant going over asking price because it makes sense. A lot of the homes in this area, some of the 3 bedrooms and things like that, based off square footage, are selling in the low 400s. So if you can snag this up at asking price, amazing. Even if you could snag this up at, up to 400, it's like a really good price. Once you start getting a little bit above there, 405, 410, 420, then it starts to get like, okay, it's in line. That's a pretty cool home. I'm gonna have to send that to somebody. Guys, I don't have any questions on here, but I'd love to help answer anything for you. If you don't have anything for me, just I mean, not let me know, but I'll know kind of by the silence. But I appreciate everybody on here watching. There's 12 people on here. I got 9 likes. So we're almost kind of matching up. But check this out. Myers Park, such an amazing place. Myers Park, 2920 Hanson Drive. A 3-bedroom, 2-bath home built in 1952 with just under 1,700 square feet. $675,000. And you know what? The funny thing is, it's like it looks. I'm not gonna say original, but you know what's crazy is a teardown in Myers Park. There's so many areas, like even in South Park and things like that. Some teardowns, guys, are selling for 500,000, depending on the lot size. I saw one not too long ago for 600,000. This doesn't surprise me, but isn't that crazy? A 3-bedroom, 2-bath, just under 1,700 square feet, built in 1952 for $675,000. Now, if you take that 675 and you go up to the suburbs, you'll get a house built in the early 2000s, 2010, 2015 plus. You'll probably 3,000 plus square feet, 4 or 5 bedroom. So it's interesting. Like the discrepancy, between the areas and the houses is crazy. It really is. But location, 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 like they always say. Another one in Cotswold. Love Cotswold. All right, guys, I'm not getting any other questions. I really appreciate you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And again, if there's anything I can ever do for you, call, text, or email me. We're going to have a lot more videos coming soon, so make sure you guys are subscribed to that. Call, text, email me if there's anything I can do for you, any questions I can answer for you, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. And again, feel free to watch this back because I'm going to be re-uploading it next week. So just be on the lookout for that, and the real estate market report's coming out soon. And I'll catch you guys later. Take care. Bye.